Alright. Guess we are waiting. Also, Osama, it is /r join and then 1 to join the radio channel. And if you would like to sit, you simply look at the chair and then press Alt and E. Oh, my bomb's a little off the table. Well, everybody's in the radio, so I suppose we can begin this. As you may or may not know, our current truce policies are outdated whenever it comes to the matter that is radio capture points. And I believe that having an up-to-date policies is very important to the success of a faction as well as its opposing faction. So, where shall we begin? In the event that a truce is called, how shall we split the radio capture points? Now, one rule that I do have is Taliban must, at all times, have hold over the city in the event of a truce. Well, just to make sure that everything is being fairly set here.
Quick note to add on to your the list there, right? You have also the no, that's us. Forget about it. There's also the Eastern what's it called? The Eastern
gas
station. Yes.
All right. So let's look at the equality. Yes, as Queen Elsa stated, Taliban does in fact get more. So
can I just recommend
I'm
letting
willing to
NATO
take the extra
have
money.
Eastern gas?
I'm willing to take the extra money, but I feel that your forces would not be too happy of us getting that extra income. But by all means, if you want us to get some extra cash, I welcome.
So then we try to divide it on a more equitable basis rather than a, just equal point for point basis.
May I?
I believe
no,
the recommendation
so as well. Well, I have my mathematical advisor here, Queen Elsa. Oh, good.
Oh.
Oh wait, then one radio point would be moving it into NATO's favor, wouldn't it? How much do radio points give? I thought it was a 150, right? We could propose a neutral point, but I'm not aware of a way to, quote-unquote, unclaim an area. We could
also let a civilian take one radio point from Tally.
That
so
we could,
neutral
because civilians are a very important part of our glorious state. We value our civilians, of course. I don't know if NATO do, as I see NATO committing various war crimes lately. But
on that note, Phelps,
it needs
to be a radio point.
I'm not sure about Crane Tower, as does it not seem unfair to the civvies and dangerous to the civilians that they have to climb all the way up to the Crane Tower?
Then perhaps City Point, given that's where they live, perhaps it makes most sense that they hold that point.
They
city
can't take
giving
area
it
Well,
points
being
to both of
fair,
us, so maybe that's a
they're
good
unable
compromise.
to claim an area capture point, as well as it would give them 500 lira. I believe that is quite the idea, Elsa. I was going to propose that they take the either the gas station, as Maxwell stated, or the hangar directly north from here.
Oh, we forgot about that one. Wait, wouldn't that make it
civilian representative?
Wouldn't that make it 2 points for the civilians, as if we have 2 radio points plus 2 area ones? 3, actually.
Harriet, as I previously stated, our one... What the fuck? Our one agreement here that I was going to make was that Taliban hold the entirety of the city of Basra, I believe it is. I'm not too up to date on our lore. So, Taliban require that we have the city. Now, it is between the civilians and us, of course, but we do not have a representative of the civilians here, as they have no leader, no mayor, nothing like that, to tell us what they would like. So, what do you think we should bestow upon them, General? Eastern Gas Station, Ruined Jetty, or the Hangar Radio? I believe Eastern Gas Station is more than fair. Now that we have that resolved, are there any other matters that anybody here would like to bring up when it comes to interfaction relations, interfaction agreements, or anything of this sort? I believe it would be very, very productive for us to go over anything that we need changed right here and right now. All opinions are welcome. NATO b-hopping. It's more of like a Harriet thing, like just PM.
If I could comment on that, that is something that's for some reason brought up by Elsa a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you, Chief. I don't see NATO b-hopping a lot. There's only so much we can do.
If
Tiny Mix is his own.
We are all completely honest in the situation. Both factions do b-hop. It is something that we cannot completely prevent. As whether we like it or not, there are always going to be people who do not uphold the law and follow the law. So the only thing we can really do when it comes to that matter is let the other faction know that a member of their own faction is breaking a law. NATO firing upon road vehicles that are following protocol. So, I believe that is something that we should bring up. If a Taliban vehicle or a civilian vehicle is upholding the law, following road safety laws, such as just staying on the road, not ramming into people, going fucking wild, and is not posing any sort of threat, should they or should they not be fired upon for belonging to a member of a different faction? This goes for NATO too. I was just referring, I mean, for Taliban too. I was just referring to it as part of the NATO perspective. Yeah, any vehicle not going Mach 5 down the road, hurtling into buildings and people, and causing havoc as a whole.
Then should we say, if assuming a vehicle, one isn't driving too close to one of the other's base, or has, hostile intentions in some other way, we should just treat it as what, like just good faith movement? Like no one's gonna try shit, or what?
Well, if it's suspicious movement, by all means. But if it's a singular car, just on its way to a gas station, not anywhere near either faction's base, not posing any threat to NATO, Taliban, or civilian, we could very well just leave them be. So, on that matter, there was a rule similar to this many what is it, months, years, I don't know, it was a while ago. There was a sign in front of NATO base. There still is, but it is a different one. There was a sign that said no civilians, Taliban vehicles, or some shit like that past this point, and then it had a red line beneath it. Could we or could we not reinstate that line in front of either base in order to make sure that neither faction's vehicles are getting too close?
A little
I mean, I
quick
think
note on that
definitely
whole.
I didn't hear what
Technically,
either of you said. You talked.
a little note on that whole rule of engagement there. How are we gonna enforce it? Because I know for a fact we have people within both factions that go ahead and say, "Oh, that's a car. I'm gonna shoot."
When it comes to enforcement, of course, it'd be treated as even BBHC. Now, when a new person on the server sees a NATO inside of NATO base, and they don't know the rules of engagement when it comes to NATO being inside NATO base, their first instinct might be, hey, let's go and shoot it. It's kind of the same thing as that. If we were to enforce this rule, it would, of course, become more widespread and more well-known, and less people would break it as time goes on. So I believe worrying about people breaking, forcing the rule should not be something that is too important.
And I think one thing that we should do probably is like just make sure that like if there's like we keep a line there saying like if you go past this point and you're driving whatever or walking even like you can be like possibly shot on sight. But I think that like we should kind of prioritize like capturing over killing instead, since it might be just some random ass civilian that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and then I think it would just be kind of simpler to like kind of question them and saying like what the fuck are you doing here, and if they are
what is RP?
Yeah, exactly.
General.
Yeah, but I think if they pass a certain point, then just like let them like basically just try to stop the vehicle and like not completely like make the entire thing fucking blow up. Yeah. Yeah,
Now,
subject to harm, like will be killed.
Yeah, come here.
Alright, let me give a visual representation. Alright, so this, and I'll need this, and I will need, there's nothing smaller than that, I'll use one bigger. And this. So let's say this little blue piece is NATO base. This little red piece is the line that we are proposing to be put in front of either faction's base. And this lime piece is a car, an unknown car from an unknown faction, of course. So I'm gonna put this a little closer to NATO base, just to get an accurate representation. So in the driveway to NATO base, or the road to NATO base, there's a car that is coming up the road. They're not too close yet, but then they pass the line. Of course, if you see they pass the line, they are very, very close to NATO base, and they don't seem to be stopping. At that point, they would, of course, be subject to harm, even if it is a civilian, because that line states, hey, if you cross this, you are subject to be shot, or killed, or detained, or questioned, or whatever NATO decides to put. Now, if it's just some random car of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, they should be able to read. I hope you can read if you're driving a car, and they should be able to see the line that says, hey, don't go past this point, you'll be screwed. And then, you know, it's just like that. If somebody crosses the line...
Yeah, completely.
Seems like a good deal.
That's a more civilian way of actually solving the whole issue of ROE with vehicles.
I think we could easily just comms in saying like unidentified 4-door pickup truck, whatever the fuck. Like you've entered restricted area.
Plus, even
So
without
you're proposing
the line,
that a time limit be given after they enter
I don't think
a certain...
I'm not sure about time limit, but just kind of notifying them saying Yeah,
I
just
think
single
maybe
warning comms
maybe what
thing,
we
like-
do is if they're getting close to the line, then we broadcast the warning. Say, hey, like, blue pickup, you're getting close to our line. Just be aware that if you pass that line, you know, you're gonna get shot. Just as sort of like a fair warning thing. Maybe not
Seems like a
necessarily
good
like
deal.
if they're barreling
Yeah.
at us. Obviously, we're not gonna have the time to do that. But if they're skirting
Yeah,
around the edge, then we can.
I think like if they're just kind of like slightly pulling up to the line, say blue pickup, you're entering restricted area, leave the area now or ask for PT. But then if they come like barreling down on Mach 6, I think that it definitely should be. Yeah, what Harriet just said is like perfect. I
Yeah,
think
there
that
we
should
go.
do. But I think if they're barreling down Mach 6, I think we have the right to shoot them and then defend ourselves from.
I mean,
I think
if a
that's
car is
perfectly
going
fair.
Mach 5 down the road, I don't think it's meant to be a civilian.
Yeah, that's
Hey, you
kind of
never
with
know.
the
Some
road
people are bad
traffic
drivers.
agreement here.
Some people are very bad
Well,
drivers.
following
Oh.
road laws, I guess I'll just dub this the road traffic agreement here. Following laws such as speeding, as in, we're not going to put a designated speed, of course, but barreling down the road at as fucking fast as possible towards the line and which they need to stop at. Vehicles a techie or MATV for NATO, are they subject to harm regardless of where they are? I believe that should be so, because think about it like this. If somebody's running at the gate with a AK-47 out, I mean AK-74 out, how is that any different from driving at the gate with a giant gun-mounted vehicle?
I don't
What about
think that's
an
what
vehicles
it's
such
unmounted,
as like
a
Humvee
car
and-
without a gun?
Any car without a gun
think
is
that should be
not
restricted to
necessarily
the-
needed to be gunned up down. But an MATV or technical out patrolling can easily be attacked because, in reality, sabotage missions, including vehicle sabotages, are common.
Yeah, I completely think that if it's like a just normal vehicle, let's say Humvee or a just normal pickup truck or some shit, I think they should like not be shot on sight immediately unless they're like completely barreling down. If it's something like an MATV or a techie, I think they should definitely like. There shouldn't be any warning because it has like a fucking gun on the back or top of it,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's like a serious threat towards either fact.
Now, we've discussed the techie or the MATV moving towards the line, but what would happen if, say, the MATV or techie was passing through city? Would it still, and following traffic laws, of course, would it still be KOS? I believe it should be. Again, it is gun-mounted and should be treated as a threat. What is your opinion?
Yeah, it's
on
pretty
that?
much the same thing of like somebody with a vehicle or like a gun out. So.
Yeah, I think it's fair to assume a vehicle has a mounted weapon that it should be treated as hostile. I don't think that's a stretch.
There we go. Are there any other matters that anybody here wishes to bring up that are relevant to either faction's law? Going once. Going twice. So, alright. If there are no further comments, we may begin wrapping this up and heading out. I will be adding the, not the transcript, but the laws we discussed here to the Taliban policies. Of course, Harriet, I hope you do the same to the NATO policies. Everybody here is free to go. I am very, very glad that this did not come to a conflict.
Nice speaking with you, gentlemen.
Where the fuck did?
Have
Now
a safe
leave the
travel,
radio.
boys.
We're still missing here.
Adieu.
We were leaving the general behind.
Bye bye.
That was interesting.